Hey everybody, thanks for joining the stream today. Just picking up some work that we were continuing on with yesterday. That was basically looking at updating the GraphCMS e-commerce starter to use our new source plugin, and particularly around localization and that, how that works with Gatsby, how that works with GraphCMS, how we query for that specific data. So yesterday we got to the point where oh, helps if I actually start my dev server. So yesterday we actually got to the point where we kind of rebuilt the product page, the single product page that was localized, but then we ran into a couple of issues, and those issues were pertained to the actual source plugin. So now I've resolved those issues in the source plugin. We need to actually go ahead and update that. So just making sure I'm going to install the most recent version of the source plugin, which has just been published npm. So we should see that update in a sec. Yeah, so there's an issue. The API changed in GraphCMS. And something inside of the source plugin was relying on that, so I've had to change something internally to counter that. But working again, back up and running, and that's why it's under a next disk tag, because it's still very much a work in progress. We don't want to having to introduce breaking changes all the time. So hopefully that'll be going stable in the near future. But today I think we'll just kind of continue on with the refactoring of this. So we've got essentially a few pages that we need to kind of finish off. We have the products page, which is a listing for all the products, both localized in English and German, and then there's also the category collection pages, and as well as the navigation, which actually pulls data from the CMS to build links for categories and collections and things. So yeah, let's jump in. So that's updated there. So we'll just clean our project, and we'll just kind of build this here. Yeah, so if you didn't tune in yesterday, we're using the GraphCMS source plugin to source data from our GraphCMS project. And essentially, you can see what that's doing there. We are querying the data from the GraphCMS API, and Gatsby is building local nodes for each of our types inside of its own GraphQL schema, its internal GraphQL schema. So you can see as well, generating thumbnail images from our project, so they can be used with Gatsby image as well. So yeah, it's pretty cool. There's some advantages of using the source plugin over the source GraphQL plugin, and that is that with source GraphQL, Gatsby is essentially just schema stitching that schema into its internal schema, and you miss out on some of the advantage of actually building Gatsby nodes. And one of those, as I said, is using Gatsby image. Another one is things like MDX. We can build markdown nodes from our markdown fields or rich text fields in GraphCMS, and then actually use those with markdown. Here, so our project's built, which is a good start, no errors. Yeah, so we have our project page here, and you can see we've got our localization switching. Essentially what that is doing is this switch, this select here, is it's just navigating between different paths, because we've built individual pages for each localization. And that has benefits with SEO, because then you get kind of SEO, localized SEO rankings based on your page, rather than just having a, rather than this just being a context switcher for the same path, and then just updating the localizations that are loaded. We actually have unique paths built for each localized page. So if we go back to our index page, what we're going to notice is we're actually going to have an error here, and this should be a relatively straightforward fix. So index, if we quickly dive into our create pages function, what we'll see is we actually are mapping over our locales here, so English and German, and then we have a create page here, and that's building this root path page using this product page template. So if we quickly look at this here, you will see that we're passing the locale path inside of context, which makes it available as a GraphQL variable, and then we can use that inside of our query, our source plugin query, to actually query for the nodes we want, the localized nodes we want. Now the issue why this is failing is because I'm destructuring products inside of our from our data prop on this function, on this component function, when in reality products is not returned. So this needs to be updated, or this needs an alias essentially. So if I give this field an alias for products, rerun that, I might need to rebuild, I'm not sure. Dive back here. Yeah, I think we'll have to rebuild the project. It's not a problem. We rebuild that. Oh, typo. It's amazing how many times there's errors that are just the result of a typo. It's maddening and infuriating. Yeah, so now we should have a products key available to us inside of this data prop. So that should destructure now, and this will, in fact, no longer be undefined, and we will get a product grid on our index page. Again, this will be localized to the selected language, whether that be German or English. Yeah, so here we go. We're on the root German page, and we've got our German product names. And again, can use this context switcher. This is using React context. Can switch that there. Again, the path will update, and we've got our English products. Nice. So we have a root products page, which will list out all of our available products. We have our individual products page, which are like so. We also need to build. We actually need to fix this link right here. So you'll notice that this link is essentially hitting a 404 page, and that is because of this product ID here. Now, yesterday, if you tuned in, we learned that in the source plugin, in the Gatsby source GraphCMS plugin, those generated schemas or those generated types actually have two ID fields. They have an ID field which is generated by Gatsby, or generated by the source plugin, and is prefixed by the type, in this case product, and has the localization key suffixed on the end, in this case en. Now that's the ID of the node, and what we also get is we actually get a remote ID on the node, and that is essentially just a true reflection of, so it maps directly to the ID in GraphCMS, which is this UUID here. So we've built the pages using this ID key, not this full one, which is why this page doesn't exist. So if I just strip this off here, our page exists there. So we just need to update the link that's used in that, what I think is a product card component. We just need to update the key that's used inside of that Gatsby link component. So let's have a look at product grid and see what we've got. Obviously we're passing all of our product nodes to this grid for them to be laid out. Yeah, and it's just rendering product here. So if we look at product, we're just structuring the ID, which is what is used in our link, the name, print for products. But everything else is rendering fine. We've got the name, that's localized, the image is there, and we also have the correctly formatted price. We're interested in ID here. What that actually needs to be is remote ID, but we might need to check if we're actually querying for that. So I will double check. So this data right here is essentially coming from our root products page, which is this page query. So this query runs at build time. It'll fetch all of our product nodes, and it'll fetch the fields for those product nodes. And as you can see, we're not requesting that remote ID field. We're just asking for the ID, which is the one that Gatsby builds for us. We need the remote ID so we can essentially get a cleaner page path for our products. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that field now. And now we will actually, oh, that's not, yeah, that's in the wrong type. It should be here. Yeah, I think I might need to rebuild this. Might not actually. Yeah, so if we dive back into our product card, we'll actually be able to destructure that, and then use that key instead of our link. Let's see if that has updated. Yeah, I think I need to rebuild. Let's just rebuild this quickly. Yeah, so whilst we are whilst we're waiting for that to rebuild, let's quickly have a poke around inside of the schema for this project, and we'll see how localization works here. So let's look at the product page, which has some localized fields here, and you can control that by, when you're building your schema, there's the checkbox here to enable that translation for this field. So if we've got localized fields, what that essentially gives you is additional inputs on the entry creation or entry edit screen. So you can see we've got an EN and a DE name. We've got an EN and a DE description as well, localized. So price, we're not using that field, but that could also be localized. So if you want to have different prices per localization, that works as well. So that's where the fields are kind of managed, the values of those are managed. And then down the right here, this is kind of the document control panel, if you like. So you've got, you know, the ID, the date of creation, the last updated date, the stages that this document is available in, and down here what we're actually interested in is localization. So what you can see, we have you know, English and German localizations for this particular entry. We can kind of manage those by deleting them. We can even add a Spanish translation if we wanted to, a localized Spanish document for this product if we wanted to. And these are pulled from the settings inside of your project. So if you go down to settings here, locales, yeah, and you can kind of manage that depending on your project. You can have a certain amount of locales. We're at the max right now, but I'll just delete Spanish here. Let me just see if I refresh. Alright, yeah, so basically what you have is you get a select down here, which will be pre-populated with all of the localizations of the world, every language you could possibly think of, and that will kind of be added to your system. And then inside of, once you've added that additional localization or that additional locale, that becomes available in the bottom here. You simply add it to the document and then the fields are available. So I've a quick poke around there. Let's dive back into the app, see if it's rebuilt. We can see now Click on this. We're getting redirected to the correct path, the correct product. Can switch context there. You know, we've got the DE page. I go back to the root. I'm still maintain that German localization and switch there. So that's managed by React context. We might dive into that in a future stream, but yeah, so that's working pretty nice right now. What else left? What else we have to do? Oh, wrong way. You don't need to see my Restream account. What else we have left to do? We need to look at the header. Let's have a look at the header. All right, so yeah, we kind of cancelled out this this query here, this navigation query, which is building that data for us to use to build a navigation. So let's uncomment this out and update this query so that it uses the source plugin schema. So the CMS field does no longer exist. You can get rid of that. And this will, as per this product's query, it will follow the similar kind of naming convention with the all GraphCMS prefix. So it'll be all GraphCMS category. Of course, we need the nodes key inside there, and we'll do the same for collection. Now those query fields, they're not particularly nice, which is why I like to alias them. And as well, so if we give them an alias as well, that will help with the kind of refactoring, because we're destructuring data here. You know, we're destructuring a categories and collections key. If I left that as is, I would need to update that to be all GraphCMS collection, and then also update that usage throughout here where we map over the categories and so on. So I like to just kind of give this an alias, as I think it's a lot easier to read rather than having to kind of process that this is essentially redundant. We only care about collection or the collections or the type of it. Excellent. Yeah, so what you'll notice that's a little different is we're actually going to use this as a static query. And static queries essentially, they still run at build time, but they're just provided as a GraphQL, a React hook. So we have this useStaticQuery hook. You'll notice that kind of destructure the keys inside of our component rather than the data prop inside of the props. This is actually kind of, you call that useStaticQuery inside of your function. One of the key differences is to remember that you can't actually pass variables to a static query. The clue's in the name, it's static, it can't accept variables. So in this case, because we're not using any variables, this is fine. We just need to update what we are, the keys here. All right. And then we can probably uncomment this and it should just build again. Famous last words. Oops, keep going the wrong way. Categories.map is not a function. I think that is probably because these nodes might need to rebuild. This is a annoying thing. And perhaps there's a data key here actually that I need to do. That I would need to destructure. Let me check that. I can't remember. use static query. Let's have a look at the Gatsby docs. Right, actually, yeah, so this should be fine. I think it was just because those nodes weren't available. Categories.map is not a function. This is the, yeah. So we update our query to include the nodes key. So I need to update the our map function to actually map over the array because categories is an object at this point. The nodes key inside of that object is the array that we can map over. All right, there we go. So what you'll see is that we actually have every category possible, and that includes the English and the German as well. Interesting. So this is probably going to pose another problem. Curious to see how this works. So, because this, yeah, so the way this works at the moment is that it's just using the, yes, we can see the live demo here. So yeah, at the moment it's just using the English categories. So even if I switch to the German here, we're still using the English category names and slugs and things. So because we're just refactoring, we're just going to keep it like that. Perhaps in future we could actually use the German category names for the navigation, but because we're just kind of refactoring this at the moment, we just want to kind of have like for like functionality. So let's just go ahead and actually just query for the English categories, the English collections, so that we can build the navigation according to those. So our would be like so. Now again, we can't use variables here, but we're not that, it's not that important. I'll be able to type. Yeah, so we're not that bothered about using variables here because we're not passing in a variable from our React context, although that is available to us. Could potentially use that. Yeah, so I could get the active locale there and could potentially use that as a variable in a query, but like I said, we're just gonna get like for like functionality for now, and perhaps in future we can actually update this navigation to actually localize per the locale. So this is our live one here. I'll just bring it down here so we can compare it like for like. Yeah. So we've got so we've got a pretty much close replica now. That's the nav done, straightforward enough. But what you'll notice is if we actually click on one of these categories, we're getting an error, cannot be properly CMS undefined. Now that CMS field was left over from the Gatsby source GraphQL plugin that we were using previously, so we need to refactor this page to use the source plugin. So we're going to look at the category page. Actually going to go ahead and commit some stuff here. It's always good to commit early and often, as I frequently say to myself and others, because it's a lot easier to figure out if there's a problem, how to debug that. You can trace back your steps from via commits. And it's also just easy to keep on top of changes that way, and you don't want to kind of lose changes. Check them in, push them as often as possible. So we'll just go ahead and add some of the stuff we've fixed or refactored. Yeah, so this is our, so I'm just going through this particular file, and the P flag is like a patch, so it'll break down the changes and you can add them as you want. So we want to add all this. That's great. We're into a different file now, so I'll just break out of that, and you'll see we'll have a staged file there. It's ready for commit. So yeah, so just going to mimic this commit message from yesterday and just change it slightly. Excellent. And what else did we fix? Right, the link, products page as well. Excellent. Let's just have a look at this. Yep, so we used the remote ID for the link. Category page, collection page. All right, products page. This is what we've changed. Yes, yes, yes. Excellent. Okay, so let's now look at our category page so we can get that building correctly. Yeah, so as I said, this we've just commented this out yesterday just because we wanted to get the build to run. So we'll just uncomment that. And we're going to go ahead and update this now. So yeah, the CMS field is no longer with us. This will be, no, it's just a singular category. So it's GraphCMS category. And you can do locale, and then we want to say slug. And then you actually have another key here, EQ. If that's right. Yep, so variable locales, local query operator input. Should just be like this, I think. Variable locales, used in position expecting type, local query operator input. Let's have a look at our schema, see what that type looks like. Ah, of course, yeah. Yep. So it's an actual input. So it's basically mimicking the slug input. This is something I picked up on yesterday, but that's pluralized when in reality it's just a single value. It's not an array. It was previously an array. So we'll probably fix that as well, just so it's semantically correct. All right, so this should remain the same. But what we'll do is, obviously we need to remove that CMS key. And we want to add the alias as well, just for category there, just for consistency. Again, I like those aliases when working with Gatsby schemas, just because they're a lot easier to read, I feel. There we go. Nice. So we can click through these categories now. That's a collection, we haven't done those yet. Categories are working. What I'm actually expecting is, yeah, so you can see this is undefined here. Our product grid. And that is because we're not querying for the remote ID field, which we need. As we can't use ID, so we need remote ID. There we go. Excellent. It's working nicely now. So what I'll do is I'll just commit that as well. Category. Okay. Collection page. This should be very similar to category page. Very similar query, pretty much the same layout. So this should be quite straightforward to just update. Let's uncomment that. Again, CMS field is no longer with us. And then we're doing GraphCMS collection locals EQ. Sorry, that'll be local, and then it'll be slug EQ. That of course is not an array anymore. We need the remote ID for those product cards as well to actually make sure that the link works. So this is categories, go to a collection. Yep, so I need to update the destructuring in the component props. That should do it. Excellent. Those click-throughs work. No products there, I think that's by design. Excellent, everything's working nicely. Now, just add to cart there. Yeah, our cart still works. This is good. I'm happy. It's always a roll of the dice whenever you decide to refactor something, let alone refactor it live on a stream. So, quite happy with how this has gone. Collection page. Excellent. Right, so I believe there's still one change. Yeah. And I'll just push this up quickly, just in case. Might need to approve that via Krypton. There we go. Excellent. So that is mostly done now. There's one thing that I kind of wanted to just quickly fix, and that was this variable that's been passed. Yeah, it implies that there are plural, that there are multiple values because it's pluralized locales. But in fact, we're only sending one in the page context. So let's just update that. It's just preference. It just reads nicer. So yeah, let's quickly just change that, and we'll have to also update where we pass that query in the first place, which is on the create page here. So this is the collection page template, which is used here, and as you can see in context, again, these are the variables. This data is passed not only to the page context here as a prop, but also it's available as a GraphQL query for, GraphQL variable for any page queries. So we just want to say locale there. That'll be the same for this and for this. Just make sure there's no more. Alright, nice. So we've updated that. There's probably some more variables. Find and replace all is a very bold move. I'm going to do it because I'm pretty confident that that should fix everything. And I can see some errors. Yeah, I think this is just because we need to rebuild, because it's looking for variables that it's looking for that locale variable here, which isn't available because this only runs at build time, and obviously these functions, this create page function runs at build time, and at the time of our previous build this was locales. So now it's updated, I just got to rebuild, and this should work. Seems like it's going to work. Success. Excellent. There's not a German throwback one of that. So what we could do is actually just add that to the yeah, so this is that product here. Oh, so there is a, it's interesting. Why is that? That's interesting. I will continue to look at that, so I'm just going to finish up committing these changes. Use singular variable name for locale for. It's pretty descript. Oh, I've done the wrong thing. I've committed some stuff there. So I'm very particular about how I commit stuff. So I've just reset that commit. Now I only want to git add src git commit. And now I can commit my fragments separately. Add GraphQL project fragments. Excellent. Okay, so pretty happy with that. So in 2 streams, oh, hang on. I was looking at the live side. So in 2 streams we have refactored our swag store, our swag e-commerce starter, our swag store, to use the Gatsby source GraphCMS plugin, switching from the Gatsby source GraphQL plugin. So if you are interested in trying this out, if you're using Gatsby, we'd love for you to try this out. As I said, it's still in beta, it's still kind of a work in progress, so still ironing out some issues. So do use it at your own risk, but you know, we have some people using it at the moment. They're filing issues, we're fixing issues, so very keen for people to try this out. Any feedback's appreciated. Any features that are missing, they're appreciated as well. Any suggestions, anything missing in the docs, let me know on Twitter. Yeah, really enjoyed streaming this. Hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.